a lot of hate against foreigner drivers.
Why
Because
is
you want me to use questions? They're just a dumb truck driver.
Hey, but you got to remember, I'm in the industry. You're not.
Welcome to the Truck Stop Show. Today we're joined by Kim, who has actually a very interesting past in trucking and present as well. So Kim, tell us about you.
Hi, my name's Kim. I've been in this industry working for 25 years, but it's been generational. So I've had my grandparents were in trucking, my father was in trucking. I have a nephew now in trucking. We have a family business. So, and I've essentially been doing one job for 25 years, which is just dispatching and sales for our small family business.
So Kim, for those who do not know, tell us what dispatching is.
It varies per company. So, and it depends on the size of your company, I guess. So, and my perspective, what I do is that I've got my trucks, and either via contacting customers or through load boards, I book freight for our trucks, and then I physically dispatch our drivers as well. Whereas other companies, some people just book freight and other people organize the trucks, but in our small business I kind of do it all. So we book the freight, I organize who's going on which truck with which type of equipment with which type of trailer, get the drivers rolling, do the paperwork, all of that. So
Do you enjoy what you do?
yes. And there's reasons why I enjoy what I do, because one, I get to tell men where to go and how fast to get there, which is like every woman's dream. so
I was going to
yeah.
ask you to explain me this, please.
Yeah, no, I don't have to.
Yes.
Like, honestly, if any woman listens to this and they're like, you get to tell a man where to go and how fast to get there, I'm like, every day I get to do that. So, and like, it's different. There's not a same day in our industry. And I don't know, again, if it's our business or whatever, be it because we have a variety of equipment, I'm dealing with different people every day and stuff like that. So, and I guess 25 years into it now, if I didn't like it, then I guess I would have issues.
Are there days where you think like, what am I doing to myself?
Yes. Like, so at our company, I have my dogs at the office, and every now and then I'm like, I'm just going to lay on the ground with the dogs and regroup here. So, because it is a challenging business, because you deal with multiple people who have experience or no experience, or knowledge, however you want to experience or knowledge, right? So every day is challenging as to what's the next phone call going to hold, right? Because in this industry, if you do freight of all kinds, you do have your own set customers, but then you do have to deal with freight forwarders, load brokers, other trucking companies and stuff like that. And then you have to deal with what is going to happen with that conversation. So, that's the challenging part of it. And I have lots of stories of things that people have asked me.
Well,
for.
we
So-
want to know the stories. We're definitely gonna know the
Yeah.
stories. But so Kim, you said it's a generational thing for your family,
Yes.
right? So tell us, what did your grandfather do or grandparents did? Your father? Just
Yeah.
walk us through how your
So-
family got involved in trucking and how many generations and years it's been coming.
Well, it would be going back, I guess, since it's my grandfather onwards. And my nephew's in it now. I guess it would be 4 generations. So essentially, and my sister is also a truck driver as well. So, but my grandfather on my maternal side, he actually was in World War II, and he ran trucks, part of the British Army and stuff like that.
Here in Canada,
No, he was stationed in North Africa and stuff
but
like that.
from Canada, right?
No, he was so I'm first generation Canadian.
Oh, so you're okay.
My mother came over when she was in her teens and stuff like that. So like
From
England.
England.
So yeah, we're first generation Canadian, which people always, they're like, what? And I'm like, I know what happens. So my grandfather, it was part of the British Army, and that's where his skill said that. So then when he came over here, like they left England because after the war, there was no real job opportunities because of the massive amount of people. So he came over here, and inevitably he fell into truck driving. And so he ran for a company out of Toronto and stuff like that. And so that's what he did. And then my father also was trying to do other stuff, but inevitably fell into also becoming a truck driver, and worked with my mother's dad, so my maternal grandfather. So they worked together at the same company. And then inevitably my grandfather retired, but my dad continued on and branched out, because what he used to do was more box. Like back then, there was a lot more physical labor, even with van work and stuff like that. Like there was no such thing as pallets. So like if you got a whole truckload of like cans of tomatoes, you were hand bombing those cans of tomatoes on and off at all of the stops. So my dad used to run between here and Thunder Bay and stuff like that. And then he changed up and started getting his own trucks. And then that's when he became a long distance truck driver. So he used to run a lot of Californias, a lot of Arizonas, and he moved over away from the van freight and he moved over more towards like flatbeds, step decks, double drops, roll tights, oversized, all that stuff. So, and then that's kind of, where I come into it, like, somewhat, because that's what I remember as a kid is my dad always having a flatbed and, as a kid trying to fix. He'd come home and, our treat at Christmas was we get new toothbrushes from Santa Claus. But the old toothbrushes, you know what are really good for? Cleaning checker plate.
Really?
Yeah, the steps would come off at Christmas and we'd be in the basement. Or, he used to have a rack and tarp and then you'd have to paint the at that time he used to bring home spray paint, which was a disaster for my sisters and I because we'd have paint everywhere and we got to spray paint the boards for the rack and tarp and, or the tarps when they got ripped, we get to turn them into slip and slides in the backyard and we'd come in covered one in grease and guck and my mother would be like, grant me strength kind of thing. So then from there, that's kind of like, I grew up with that side. And then my paternal grandfather was also a truck driver and he ran more local and he did a lot of tanker work and van work as well until he went back to school for education. And then he worked actually here in Guelph for a company here. They moved to Guelph to work here at a factory here in Guelph. So because he got training in running certain presses and stuff like that. So then he stopped truck driving. So, and then from there, whole life just kind of grew up having my dad who'd come home.
How many siblings are you guys?
My sisters and I, there's three of us. I have
So
an
three in
old,
total, all three girls?
all three
And
girls.
then you guys actually continued the generational thing and the
Yes.
family business. And how did you guys get involved in this?
So my dad was a part of another business before we started our company and just politics, I guess, office politics. There were some issues that happened and everything like that was taken out of that business. So he's like, okay, well, I know we can do this and everything like that. So the whole thing was we were going to start up this business, mainly because my older sister at the time, her husband at the time was also a truck driver. And so we had resources and all that stuff. So we decided to start up this business and I had nothing to do with it. When they decided to, on day one, we're going to do this, I was going through university for something completely different, but
Different life goals.
different life goals. Definitely 100%. I was going to travel the world. I was going to learn 100 languages and like learn different cultures and all this stuff. And it was going to be fabulous. And anyway, I'm in trucking. So, and it just, we started the business and we opened the doors on December 1st and my dad had a heart attack by January 7th, was in the hospital. It was just like a streamline. So I'm like, okay, I'll go to school part-time, help out. And honestly, I had nothing to do. Like the only thing I ever knew about the business is that my dad would be home every Sunday or every other Sunday kind of thing. He'd call on Thursday nights to say he'd be home. Didn't really pay attention to any of it, right? Like, by that point of the game, my sister was also dating somebody who was a truck driver. My younger sister was, she'd help out with people with farming and stuff like that because we lived out in the country. So she was already running tractors and all that stuff. And she was running the trucks out in the field and everything. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll help. I can talk. I got that skill. You'll learn that here. I can talk.
Absolutely. And it's a good skill.
Yeah,
It's a
can
great
talk.
skill.
So,
It's a blessing in a way.
yeah, so I can talk, and my drivers say I can usually convince anybody of anything. I mean, the people think it's not a good idea. I can usually convince them it is a good idea, and it's pretty much because I talk circles around
Right.
them. So I'm like, you know what? I'll come in and help, right? But I had to learn right from the get-go, right? Like I knew what stuff was on a trailer because my dad would come home, so I'd know what a steel coil was, right? And again, my knowledge is more towards the flatbedding side of it, not the van side of it. And I'll tell you, like, when it clued in for the van side of it. So I started learning about, what you could fit onto a trailer and what you could do with this. And like 25 years ago, roll tights and Conestogas were just coming out. So they were not, like today they're an industry norm, right? Like, if you have a flatbed company, unless you're doing specialized where you do the oversized, but even those companies still have a couple of roll tights hang out. But back then they were specialty equipment and all that. So we had a couple owner operators come over and one of them had one. So he was my test
Mm-hmm.
my guinea pig, right? And he's like, you just keep booking freight and I'll tell you when to stop. So I'm like, okay, right? Because, you know, I just learned, okay, this much fits on and this much fits on. So I started learning that side of it. But then we also had a couple of customers that wanted van freight. And I am telling you right now, we were 3 or 4 years into the business till it clued in exactly what they meant when you had 26 skids and it took up 53 feet. I'm like, why? It's 26. And I just thought you put them straight down. I'm like, not 26 skids can't fit down there. That's too much, right? 26 times 4, right? It wasn't that, oh no, they go side by side. And this is what
Yeah,
happens
yeah.
and everything like that. And I'm like, because I was always into flatbedding, I didn't really I still honestly remember we were, I think, 3 or 4 years into the business when I finally clued in what you could do with a van. I'm like, oh,
Right.
so
That's because you didn't have interest, right?
and we really didn't have that type of equipment either, right? Like we ended up getting a couple of trailers because we, for our company, we try to offer when we have a customer, what do you need for equipment? So we've got a couple of them and I always call them project customers. So we just did a big project where we needed to have double drop, step deck roll tights, regular roll tights, and dry vans to move it. So I have another project on the go right now. They need 53-foot flatbed, step decks, all this. But there is, at the end of those 6 trailers, there is one van load of the miscellaneous parts. So we decided to accommodate our customers. So when they call, they're not going to call us and I can't say, no, we don't have that equipment. Yes, we do, right? Yes, I can do all of the loads for you versus only saying, oh, I can only do the van or I can only do the flatbed. So that's when we got that project in.
Right.
So, but then, yeah, from there, I just learned how to, you learn stuff I have
Yeah.
the suburbs
Once
of
you're
Chicago.
thrown in the water, you know how to swim.
And yeah, back then
Yeah.
you didn't have, it was a sink or swim, right? And when you asked a dumb question, I think that was potentially the difference of today's culture versus then. When you asked a question and it was dumb or didn't sound right, somebody called you out on it, right? Here today, people are too afraid to hurt feelings, right?
Yeah.
And it was very much so 25 years ago, an all boys club. So the fact that I was coming in here and that I knew stuff or I could do things, it was trying that constant battle of no, this is what's going to happen. No, this is where we need to be with this.
Do you
kinda
know
thing.
there's
So,
not still enough female person in the industry?
yeah, I think it's because
Even on the driving side or even I think on the or the let's say admin side as well.
Right.
Yeah,
Which
there's
is
not. It's still male dominated
yeah.
industry. Too
And
many
I always
men.
find it so bizarre because if you walk into our office, I'm in charge of dispatch. Our other dispatcher was a woman. Our person that is in charge of accounting and billing is a woman. The person who runs the shop is a woman. The person who's charged in safety and maintenance is a woman. We don't actually have a man in our office.
But do you guys? I'm sure you guys didn't
Yeah.
plan this out, right? It just happens to be this way, right?
Right. We did have one male who
Person?
worked there once, yeah, for the shop side of it. But above and beyond that, it just the way it works out or whatever be it, right?
Is there
So-
challenges on this?
Pardon
Like,
me?
do people is there did you have any difficulties being just the female run business
No.
and anybody sort of not appreciate or challenge because it's a very
Oh,
male dominated industry,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, on a regular basis.
Really?
Yeah. I still to this day, I challenge, I think it was maybe last year, I was trying to book freight on the phone and this person full out said to me on the phone, let me talk to your husband. You don't know what you're saying. And I said,
Wow.
oh, you just said something wrong to me.
Yeah.
I said, here's how it goes, is that if even I had a husband that I would let you speak to, he probably wouldn't be in this industry because it's not for the faint of heart, which you are if you're asking for somebody else to step up right now because
Wow.
you can't understand this business, right? So it was a little...
Because he's probably thinking you have no
And-
sense what you're talking about, but he doesn't know who you are. Or the kind of, it's a generational thing,
Right.
which is huge. It's in you, right?
Right, and that's the
Yeah.
whole thing, right? So there's this whole side of it where people don't understand that I just didn't. I always make a joke now when people say something. I'm like, I don't know. I just started my job on Tuesday because it depends on how the week goes and what people are saying to me or how things are worded. And I'm like, did that just come out of their mouth? Okay, you know what? I'm going to pretend I started my job on Tuesday and that I have a blank slate right now, right? Because it makes it a little challenging. So
Do you take it personally?
No.
No? Okay. Ever?
No.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. And I don't know if it's because of just who I am or whatever, be it maybe it's knowledge or experience or who I am as a person or
But
whatever.
that makes you
be it-
that gives you the confidence, right?
Right. Yeah. Like when I if I don't know something, I'm going to say it. But I do not like anybody ever assuming that I don't know, because they have no concept of who I am or where my knowledge stands or anything like that, right? So when I get somebody who says something, I just almost reverse it now. So like I have a couple of customers, and when they decide to go off and like all bad, I'm like, listen here, doll. Go to the kitchen, get yourself something to drink, maybe sit down, do your nails. Like I just reverse it right on them. And I'm like, and sweetheart, when you're ready, we'll come back and deal with this,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, because these are things that have been said to me over the years, because and again, it is women in this industry, right? Where I do maybe a job that was male dominated or whatever, be it. And the fact that I don't do just basic van freight. Like when you're calling me, I don't do the horrible supersize over ugly supersize loads. I have I have no interest in that. That's not who we are, right? But when you call, I always have a general idea, and I always have the set questions. When somebody calls me and says, no, hey, I have a load going from here to here, there is a set list of questions. And if those people can't answer the questions, I'm like, why are you calling me? Right? So because don't show up. I learned that right off the bat, and it makes me mad that people who are in this industry now aren't being trained properly. So when you're calling somebody,
They are or they are not?
they are not.
Not being trained properly. Okay.
They are not. They think that this is just a business that you can just show up in and make a
But
call.
it's very complicated.
And it
right?
makes me mad when somebody calls and you say, okay, like, because we also broker freight as well as have our own trucking company. So when somebody calls me for my like freight that I have, I'm like, yes, I have a load from Cleveland to Toronto. I need this type of equipment. This is the space it is. This is the weight it is. I already have all the customs paperwork. Here is the rate. I don't do that whole, okay, hold on, let me put you on mute, ask somebody else what the question is, let me put them on mute, let me back and forth. When you answer that phone, if you don't know, or when you call somebody, if you don't know, why are you picking up the phone? You have to learn, yes, but you need to know. And I think that's the thing today. People don't like say, okay, before I give this to my driver, what is everything I need to know? Or if I'm booking freight, because we do a lot of LTL, how much space is it? How much weight? Do we have customs paperwork for it? Is it going to delay the other shipments? What's the shipping receiving hours, right? So like it's a long process. And again, I've had 25 years at learning, but my whole thing is that yes, there are dumb questions. Like I had 2 weeks ago, somebody call and they wanted to move an excavator, and it had to go on a step deck with ramps or an RGN. And I said, here's the rate. They're like, that's too expensive. Can you use a dry van with a lift gate?
So why are people not trained? Where are they supposed to get the training?
Well, I think a lot of times people just think that they can hire somebody. Administration. That's what they deem dispatching as administration.
The person has no sense what trucking is, and
they've never seen. Some people have never seen a truck before. They don't know the difference between a van or a flatbed or a step deck or
It
a
does make
double
sense,
drop,
yeah.
right? So, and they're there like, hey, you have this administration job, you just have to call these people. And I feel bad because they're not getting trained properly. And
Yeah.
it's weird because like,
Yeah, it's not their sandbox, right?
Yeah, I get that I got actually thrown into the fire, right? Because like, again, I had no interest in this business really, but because of family circumstances, I got in. But like when I was there, I took every opportunity I could to learn. So even when I was in the office, if something happened on the weekends, I'd go with my drivers. So
Just to ride along?
yeah, I mean, I would annoy the crap out of them. I get that part, right? And I'd make them sing duets with me, right? And some of them who smoked, they know they couldn't smoke in the truck. So the farthest I'd ever go with them is like down to Windsor or into Toronto, because I couldn't go far. I mean, I had to be back to work or whatever be it. So I challenged them on not smoking for 3 hours in the truck. But I would get there and I would see how they load the equipment, and how they have to back in. And, you get to learn all that stuff. So it's a bit more hands-on. But I feel like in dispatching now, everybody just thinks it's all about a computer. Type it in quickly to like, a mileage program. What's the miles and everything? But you're not even looking. Like some mileage programs, like you run in Milwaukee and has you going right across Lake Michigan. I'm like, it's not 318 miles to Milwaukee. You have to go around the lake with a truck. You really do, right? So it's just common sense and I think there's a lot of people who are not familiar with North American geography and then, what you can do with equipment and all that. Right. So and I don't know, like you can take a class in college.
Well,
and
there's
stuff like
there's
that.
logistics and transportation courses offered by colleges. I actually know some people.
That gears a lot towards dry van freight, like
Mhm.
automotive dry van freight. I feel like that's what it gears it
Right.
towards. Like, here's like, we're going to have a computer program and you are going to have to just put stuff in the program and trucks are just going to be scheduled in and out of a dock or a door and stuff
Mhm.
like that, right? It doesn't teach you about how to, like, ask the essential questions when somebody calls in with freight. Like, how do you deal with customers? What do you do when you're calling shippers or receivers and everything like that? So
Mhm.
there's a big void on actual proper knowledge being passed on. And
Mhm.
it's hard because I've had people that sit beside me too in this job and I've tried to pass it on and like they just sometimes they're just like, I
What's
said,
going on?
you
Yeah.
got like, but pay attention, right? If you can't, I always said, if you can't figure it out, if you can't figure it out what I'm doing, make a list, write down questions. I'll answer questions. If something doesn't make sense, ask, right? But it's better to ask questions than just to make yourself look like a fool, like,
Right.
when you're not
Right.
doing it right.
Right.
Because say in my job, if I don't find out, so this week, got a guy going down towards Philly,
Your driver?
one of my guys
Mhm.
called. I already had my own customers freight on the deck. So I just needed some extra because again, we do full loads, but we do LTL because
Mhm. And
I was
LTL is just for those who
less
don't know.
less than truckload.
Right. Okay.
So I was raised by my dad was an owner operator before we started all this, right? So in his world, there's no such thing as a full load. Because at the time, like, and it was just like simple math. If you put one $300 skid extra on your trailer every week for 3 years, it's $45,000. That at the time when he was doing this is like, again, 20 years ago, that's a brand new trailer every 3 years.
Correct. Yep.
So I call and they're like, nope, we've got 2 machines that have to happen. This is the size. They're going to be crated. I said, okay, not a problem. They're like, I'm like, does it need to be tarp? Yes. So my driver gets down there. It's not 2 machines. They're 2 grapple hooks for like scrap yards. Like they don't need to be tarp. They're meant to go
Yeah.
on like in the front of like on a front of a machine, like a
Yeah.
loader or whatever be it. I'm like, but the person I got the freight from probably has no concept because they were a freight broker. I'm asking what's the size. So if you
Mhm.
want to know the list, so somebody calls and says, hey, I have a load from Toronto to Philadelphia. Okay, what type of equipment? If they can't tell me I need a flatbed, step deck, or that, okay, what's the size of it? If they can't tell me the size or the weight, then I'm like,
I can help you.
I can't help you. They're like,
Yeah.
what's the rate? So anybody who knows me long enough, I always make up a big fictitious $1 million rate. I'm like, I need $1 billion for this load. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, when you come back with actual information, I can help you. But just asking for a random rate doesn't help the industry, doesn't help the person like that person who's asking the question because they're not learning about their customer's freight. All they see it is a transactional, where's my percentage? I need to make my 15 points, my 20 points off this. I don't care what the freight is. I don't care what happens. And that's the big thing now is that, especially on the brokerage side of it, it's all about the points. It's all about how much percentage points you can make on it, not caring kind of almost what happens to the freight, who hauls the freight, or giving the people the information to actually book the freight with other people.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So Kim, I want you to step back for a second.
okay.
And how does it feel to be raised by a truck driver who's let me say, in back in days the phones weren't so
My dad would
accessible,
call
right?
Thursday nights. So I wasn't raised by a truck driver. I was raised by my mom.
Right. I mean, but he's still your dad, right?
He is, but
Yeah.
that's what I always say. So my dad he used to be gone for sometimes 4, 6, 8 weeks at a time. So when somebody says something, I'm like, yes, I grew up generational truck driving, but my mom was the one who raised us girls. Like, my dad would, yes, paychecks would come home every week or whatever be it, or money or whatever be it, but he didn't. Right. So that was the whole thing because at that time, he used to call on Thursday nights, every Thursday night, if he was going to be home or not, so that we would know by Thursday whether or not he was going to be home for the weekend.
Mhm.
Above and beyond that, no
Was
clue.
it tough at the time? Like, do you still have those memories as a kid? Because kids are very excited when the dad is coming home, right?
Right. I don't necessarily know. So we always had that whole if you got to speak to him or not speak to him, right? So it was
Mhm.
that whole thing of, oh, he called, I didn't get to talk to him this week. Okay. So sometimes it'd go weeks you didn't even talk. And it was just the
Mhm.
industry because at that time, say if my dad was doing a load out to California, faxes, which are unheard of now, because that's obsolete technology.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd have to wait for a fax to come in with a load, right? And you'd
Mhm.
have to call your dispatcher. So it wasn't like everything that's automated today where,
Mhm.
you can just text it to the driver or shoot him an email or do anything like that. Like my dad had to legitly call in and physically write down all of his information from a dispatch, or, you know, wait for a fax to come in, or wait for somebody to call. So like there was this whole delay in the industry, like, you know, in terms of getting freight moved.
Now, how are you
So
taking this as a child whose dad is doing this such a sacrificing job, right?
I don't know any
And then-
different.
Right.
I don't know any different.
So
Right?
you're just so used to this.
I
It was normal for you, right?
Yes, I don't know any
Right.
different. If I don't know the difference between if he was home every night, right? So there's the dads that work the 9 to 5s and
So
home
at
every
schools,
night.
let's say there's an event, and then your friend's dad shows up, and then you're like, "Where's your dad?"
I'm Generation X.
Right.
Parents didn't show up.
Really? Okay.
Right. Let's do
So it
this.
was a normal thing even then.
Right. So even to
Right.
my other friends, right, and stuff like that, parents, we were like what they call us the latchkey kids and stuff like that. We're Generation X. Like
Right.
come home when the street lights are on kind of
Right,
thing,
right,
right,
right, right.
That and stuff like that. So I don't even know if it was a big difference because even and when I participated in, like, say in high school in sports or in bands or in this or in that, the other kids' parents weren't showing up either.
So it was totally normal.
It's totally normal. So it
Right.
didn't make a big
difference.
kind of thing, right?
Right.
So, and my dad was always good at getting home for criticals. Like, you know, there wasn't a time growing up he ever missed Christmas. You know, that was his whole thing, no matter what, even if he had to truck, and again, at that time, there was paper logs and a little bit different, even if he had to truck for 26 hours straight, not sleeping, coming straight home from California, he never didn't miss Christmas. Right? He'd miss birthdays, yes, and he'd miss all those events and everything, but that was just normal. And again, it didn't make a difference to us even growing up because we didn't do birthday parties. We didn't do any of that, right? That wasn't part of maybe how, and I think the same with my friends too. If I look back on it, we didn't do any of those celebrations, and I don't know again if that's just a generational thing, but I knew nothing else, right? So I just knew that my mom was the one who made sure we got up and went to school every day, did the lunches, took us to swimming lessons, skating lessons. And then, you know, as we got older, my dad was home just, you know, because things changed. Again, it's the evolution of the industry. So, you know, technology came into place. So instead of not waiting like a week and a half in a place for a load, you're going there and back now in a week, right? So it started quickening up. So I remember more in my later teen years, he would be home more often on the weekends than he ever was when I was younger. But by that point, I had a part-time job and, you know, I was getting ready for university. So again, I knew nothing different. So I think it's hard, like, you know, people misunderstand, I guess, in this industry that it does take, kids don't know any different. So when you're a truck driver, when those kids are young, they don't know any different. You know, they think this is how it's normal. You're going to go to work and then you're going to come home from work. So is your job a 9 to 5 when you're going to come home at night? Or is it a Sunday night, I'll be home Friday, right? Or I can stop home. Like, you know, our guys, just some of the routes we run, they go home, like, you know, sometimes they get to swing home on a Tuesday or a Thursday or something like that, right? You know, as a surprise. So I try to change up our industry in terms of making sure there's still a home life balance, you know, as to what our guys want. But most of the time, wives of truck drivers, you know, they actually more thrive on the independence, right? Okay, you're going to be home, but this, like, Monday to Friday is my routine, my route. And if they come home, like, I always make fun of when truck drivers come home or they're home during the week and they think they're going to do something different. No, that's not going to happen. You're still going to follow the household routine kind of thing, right? So I think it's just a perspective. Like, children, it's that nature versus nurture, right, as well. But children don't know any different. They know what you tell them. So I didn't know any different. My dad was a truck driver my whole entire life. Like, he did odds and sods jobs till my older sister was about 2, but then that's when I was born, and that's when he became a truck driver. And then he started coming home more often when I was like, my younger sister was like 14, 15, but at that time I was 18, 19, right? So I was already heading off to university. So ideally, like, you know, we didn't know anything different as kids.
All right, Kim. So I want to talk about the dispatching job. I do know it's not an easy job. It's got its own challenges. So we were talking more so about the business side. Let's bring it to where you are in the process of dealing with truck drivers. So the drivers, they're special human beings. I do know this, right? And everybody's different. pretty straightforward. Tell me the like. I just want you to highlight the most difficult encounter with a truck driver in terms of dispatching. I'm sure you have many.
I do, and I guess it's all in perspectives in terms of what happens because I'm pretty cut and dry. Like, here's your job. This is what you're going to do. So I've had numerous times where I've had drivers on the phone crying to me, and I'm like, they're like, I can't do this, or the
Did you
weather's
ever had
too
anybody
bad.
quit on you right there?
I
Like on the
fire
phone?
them.
No, like somebody be like, you know what, I'm not working anymore.
Oh, well, no, what the industry norm is, you show up on Monday morning, the guy's already supposed to have left on Sunday with a load and his truck's cleared out. Or they've just abandoned the truck and trailer. That's an industry norm, I find. So other guys are kind and polite and they give you notice if they're going to move on or whatever, be it. But most of the time in this industry, guys just clean out trucks because there's always a job. They can just start
Yeah,
a
they're
job
in
on
demand.
Monday, right?
Yeah.
So that is I find most of the time guys just abandon freight, abandon the truck.
They have done that?
I just had one a couple months ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me the story. Not
Well,
the details, just
No, he was like, supposed to go to work, and my nephew showed up at the yard, and because he was supposed to leave early in the morning to go to work, and he was just going to sleep in his truck so he didn't have to wake anybody up. And he got there, and he's like, the light's on, like the in-bunks lights are on. He's like, I went to knock on the door and open up, and it's empty. And he's like, I opened the side box, and it's empty. He's like, and I came inside, and the keys and the bills of lading were sitting on the kitchen table in the driver's lounge.
So he quit overnight, basically.
Perfectly fine, though, on the Friday, helping us at the yard, cross-docking freight, had lunch with us and everything. Less than 36 hours later, had cleaned out the truck.
But do we know why?
Yes.
Just overall. Just don't have to go into details.
Well, you have to follow rules and regulations in trucking, and he couldn't abide by certain rules and regulations certain things are illegal. You can't do.
Mhm.
And that's, we don't permit that. So, and he wasn't going to change his lifestyle.
How do you handle big situations?
Like
So
what?
difficult situations in dispatching. Let's say you're trying to convince somebody to do a load and the person is refusing for whatever reason, right? And now it's a difficult situation, and I'm sure it appears quite often, right?
No,
Not for you?
nope.
Why not?
Because
What magic do you have, Kim?
I listen to my guys, first of all. I know what each driver can do. I know where each driver wants to go, if they want to go long, if they want to go short. And my guys know that if I'm asking them to do a specific load, even if they don't want to do it, they know it's for a reason. But I've built that relationship with my guys. So some guys don't want to do certain things, but they know that it's for the greater good. So, and if they don't want to do a load, okay, go home. You're at the bottom of the pile. When I get back to you again, we'll go from there, right? Like that's just how it goes. I'm not going to feed into egos. I'm not going to, but I'll buy you a pony if you do this, right? Like, none of that. We're adults. Do you want to do your job? Yes or no? No? Okay, perfect. Go on to the next person. That's fine. There's always somebody that, not that I'm doing it as a transactional thing, but there's always guys that have to pay their mortgage, put roofs over their heads, food in their kids' stomachs, clothes on their backs and stuff like that. And I think it also depends on the freight that you have as well, right? So, and we don't do forced dispatching and we don't do slip seating and stuff like that, right? So that's the whole thing. When you get a truck, it's your truck, and here's what you're going to do. And I know what each driver is going to do and what they can't do. I have certain drivers that I know I can't do oversized loads with or anything like that. They work better on vans and roll tights. Okay, right? And so when I book freight and I do all that, I gear it towards what my guys can do. And I we have a calendar at the office. They tell me when they want to be off. Okay, I work it into their schedule. So it's not that, I'm saying, hey, you book this off, but now you have to work. Right? We just don't do that. It's called common respect. So I couldn't tell you the last time I had somebody say no. Because they know if I'm saying it to them and it's not something that they normally do, that it needs to be done. But that's just having the right relationship with your guys. So, and that's the whole thing.
Is
right?
Is dispatching love-hate relationship with drivers or no? But the way you sounded,
yeah.
but
They
the way you sound is the
they
way.
drive me crazy because it's a personality thing, right? I have every single one of my guys. Sometimes I'm just like, you And then I'm like, yeah, whatever be it. But I am 100% guaranteed that they've called me stuff behind my back too. I'm okay with that because sometimes we deal with stressful situations. Sometimes things aren't going right where you're stuck behind an accident in a snowstorm in Toronto traffic. You're already late and and your truck's throwing codes. And here I am going, where are you? Why aren't you there? What do you the whole thing of dispatcher, they make fun of us dispatchers. You can see where I am. You got satellite tracking and everything. Yep. Okay. But what's going on? Because I don't know that there's an accident in front of you and this is happening and that's happening. So you got to have that conversation. So, but it's a personality thing and trying to get, in touch. And I mean, yes, there's guys that have worked for me in the past that'll probably never speak to me again. I'm okay with that. And there's other guys that have worked with me that I still see and they still call me up. Like, they're working at other companies and we had a couple of them here who couldn't find freight or their companies just do not have work right now. I just had a guy 2 weeks ago who hasn't worked for me in 3 years and his company has no freight. And he's like, do you have anything? He's like, I'll just come run around your trucks. I'm like, yep. So he ran for me for 2 weeks till his company could come up with a load for him.
Really?
So, it's just that whole give and take if you have good relationships with the guys. So, but I don't have it where they're going to refuse a load because this is business and it's not, when you do the refuse load thing, that's a personality thing most of the time. That's where the dispatcher hasn't listened to the driver's not listening to the dispatcher, and the dispatcher didn't do their job in terms of booking the freight that you need for your company, for your driver, and for locations.
Is trucking a good trade, Kim?
Yes.
Do you
100%.
recommend people to get into this? Because,
Yeah.
there's a shortage in the country.
Yes,
and then
but
hence we are bringing a whole
unfortunately-
bunch of immigrants into the country from other countries. And they are actually, in a way, our big workforce in the trucking industry right now. And then, there's a lot of criticism on that as well. But I mean, how do
The
you see this whole thing?
criticism is because unfortunately people are being brought in from various countries and stuff like that. And they're like given a license in July. They got here in April, have a license by July, never seen snow.
Yeah. Yeah. And snow is just one example. Yes.
I've never seen,
Mm-hmm.
pick something like, in terms of severe rain in Toronto where it floods all the cities and stuff like that, right? Haven't seen rock slides happen in BC. Haven't, seen this happen, that happen, right? And so, but they're just expected to get into a truck and they have no prior knowledge. They spent whatever, and again, you have a school, and I should know because my nephew just went through with you. So how long it takes, but it was, I'm going to say a 3-month period, right? Is usually on average what it takes in terms of schooling and getting hours in for driving and stuff. So in the 3 months though, they're not necessarily working for a trucking company or doing something else. Sometimes they're working in retail or in factories or in fast food or whatever be it. So while they're getting their license, say with you, they're not getting any industry knowledge. They're not learning about how freight moves. They're not learning about, so if they can have the ability, not everybody who is here can cross the bridge, but they're not getting skills even from, so say if they are brought over on a work permit, and again, I don't know all the
That's fine. Yeah,
technicals.
no, that's okay. Yeah.
The people that brought them over haven't been taking that time while they're getting their license to show them, here, this is how you run a logbook. Here, this is what customs paperwork looks like. This is what you're going to need. Here, this is what happens in this situation. Here, right? So you have all these people now that are in this industry to no fault of their own, except for they accepted I know that they're trying for the better life, but to no fault of their own, they're thrown into the industry with nothing.
Do you think it's unsafe?
Not even a life. Yeah. They don't have, there's no whatever those buoy things are that they throw off of boats. There's nothing pulling those guys back in, right? Like they're like, here's the keys to a truck. You have to now drive to BC, which is bigger than your whole entire country that you came from. You're going to go through forest fires. And once you pass forest fires, a freak snowstorm in Manitoba, followed up by protesting in Calgary,
True.
rock
yeah,
slides
yeah.
in BC, and roads closed because mountain goats have decided that they're going to live on the road for the day, kind of thing, right? Like, and that's the problem, is that when people are coming over, they're not getting, while they're waiting, they're not given any prior
So
information.
is it the school's responsibility to give them the training, or
No,
the companies
you'd-
they go to work for?
The companies.
What do you
I'm
think
going
an
to say
ideal?
here is not the companies. The companies that, what is it called? The LMI. The people that are bringing these drivers over for the
Right.
shortage.
Yeah.
It should be their responsibility, and they're not taking responsibility. They see these people as
A resource, right? like a,
No.
human just who can operate a truck
There's
legally.
a dollar sign. It's a
Yeah.
dollar sign. That's all they see. They don't actually care about the person. They don't care about what the person requires. They don't care about the fact that this person's getting into a truck now, pulling a load. Triaxle load, 65,000 pounds, just got their license last week, and all they've been doing is driving around an empty van. They have no idea when they hit black ice and your whole 65,000 pound load's going to shift on you. Because even if it's in a van and it's fully loaded, there's still movement no matter what anybody
Explain
says.
me an ideal situation. Let's suppose a person has just moved to the country, and immigration is a huge thing in Canada, right?
Yes.
We run on immigration in a way,
Again,
and then
I told you,
there's
first generation. I
yeah,
get
there
it.
we go. No, I mean, like, so
Yeah.
we always have people coming from other countries. So let's say a person came into the country. Now this person is trying to get into trucking, right? So he goes out, gets his license, right? Which is not a very lengthy process. He gets the license, and then now what I understood you were trying to say is this person should be trained by the person who brought him into the country.
100%.
Right.
Yes, you can offer them the ticket. So you're going to give them their AZ license. You're going to assist them with school and the testing and all that. But once they walk out that door, they're not your responsibility anymore, right? You've done your job.
Yeah, they passed
Right?
the test. Yeah.
Right. It's almost like going to high school. Like, you go through school, you do that. But once you're done high school, then, the real life starts, right? Like, what are you going to do from there? So now they have these people that they've trained or not trained. They've paid for them to get their license. I shouldn't use the word trained. And I've seen it recently in the last couple of months because of the industry where these people came in, they're going to train on vans because that's the
A normal truck.
easiest. I'm
Yeah.
going to use quotation easiest because it's just open and closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do anything else. You are not tarping. You are not chaining. You are not strapping. You're not worried about load position on the trailer. Like, if you're trying to put an 88,000 pound coil or like multiple coils on your trailer, it's 88,000 pounds and having weight spread out amongst your axles and all that. They're not worried about that. They're opening and closing doors. And in the recent trend now, people are like, van freight's slowing down. So these guys that have never hauled a flatbed before, they're like, just go hook up to a flatbed. Never had securement training. So, is that offered in school? We don't know. But if these people at these companies are expecting these people to know this, at some point you have to sit down. Okay, you know what? You don't know how dispatch works. This is how freight comes in and goes out. But I don't know if they think it's a trade secret and the drivers can't know. My guys can know anything they want. Because you have to have the open door policy to make sure guys are going to work for you. So have that guy sit in the office for a week or two. How does their freight come in? How is it going out to the drivers? Like, this is how you're going to get the information, not, oh, here's your license, here's your login for your logbook, go. Right? Like,
It does have just thrown in, yes.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. And I think maybe we've just done different perspectives. Even when we hire guys at our place, they always go with another driver for their first, not in the same truck, but here, right? Here's
have
how
some
you're gonna
assistance.
do it. Yeah, right? And we're gonna learn this and you're gonna do that and stuff like that. But guys are not getting that anymore. They're literally getting thrown into a truck, and sometimes it's multiple guys in a truck. Go to work. You have the $40,000, $30,000, $40,000 bill to pay off that you just said you wanted to come over here for, and they don't know their rights and they don't know.
Do you
anything
think, to an
different.
extent, the enforcement, so the law enforcement,
I think they're overwhelmed with the amount of drivers that are here that are getting rapid licenses, right? And I say that interestingly because 10, 15 years ago, you didn't have to go through schooling like you did. You could go to school, or you could just go write your test and drive your test and go get it, right?
But things are being
Easy.
done in order to make it safer.
I don't know if it is.
Right.
Right? There is people that just buy licenses. And stuff like that. So, and I think that people, when they're bringing everything over, it's fine that say the industry wants to be safer, but it's not being implemented on ground level. So there's no way, again, a guy who just had his license, who's only been here since April, has no idea what he's coming up against, should be, you know what, here, you should do a radius thing. Okay, you got your license, you're going to run local. So for the next 6 months, you're going to see how we pick up and deliver freight for our customers. Then we're going to send you 500-mile radius. Then once you get comfortable, because by that point, you're going to be into Canadian winter and all that stuff. You're going to see how things are happening that day. Then after that, you can go to a further radius, right? Or whatever be it. So because truck drivers today are not the same as truck drivers 25 years ago. They're just now it's a transactional thing. Before it was a lifestyle choice.
Right. Is
and
trucking
it's
safer now, or was it safer before?
Before.
before? And why
Correct.
is technology playing a better role or a negative role?
I think it's neither. It's not. It's void. It's a null, right? Because technology is irrelevant when it's a person.
It's a good point, by the way.
Right. It's irrelevant. It doesn't care if you run paper logs or if you run an e-log. It doesn't care, like, you know, if you've got a truck that's older than 1999, you got an old engine in it and this, that, the other, or you got a brand new, like, you know, smart screen touch dashboard and all this stuff. That's irrelevant. It's the driver is, they're the key to this industry and people don't understand that. Right. So without those guys behind the wheel, your job would be pointless.
Mm-hmm.
My job would be pointless. Shippers and receivers wouldn't get their freight going anywhere. And those guys are the most disrespected, underestimated, undervalued people.
And
in
why is
our
that? Why? Why is
because you want me to use questions? They're just a truck driver, a dumb truck driver. And I'm like, why do you think they're dumb? You figure out laws of physics on how you get a load that's, again, you know, we do heavier loads. So like, you know, 75,000, there's 3 coils on a flatbed. They don't move at all when we have to slam on our brakes when a car cuts us off. Do you think that it involves a dumbass doing that? Sorry, I shouldn't swear.
No, you're good. You're
Yeah.
good. Yeah, you're good.
No,
Yeah.
you don't, right? Like they do not get credit where credit is due. And a lot of times they get like, oh, you're late. Oh, it's the driver's fault. I never blame my drivers. If we're running behind or something's not working, it's never their fault because it's never really their fault. There's a backup of the bridge. There's an accident. You're like, you know, a wheel seal goes on something, an airbag broke. Right? It's you like 95% of the time, it's not the drivers.
So, Kim, you know this, and you're speaking so passionately about this
Yeah.
because you have lived through this. An average person, why do they not know all of this? Is there lack of
don't care.
education? Is there lack of why? Is it lack of? I guess nobody talks about these things. What's the problem here?
My best friends, I've known them. I'm the last one in the group. I came in grade 6. I was 11. I'm 47 years old now. 36 years I've been their friends. And I bet you could pull all of them in the room right now. All 4 of them. And they could tell you not a thing that I do. Nothing, right? They have nobody has any concept on how their chicken got to their table.
Mhm.
How, like, I mean, that starts with Farmers Up, but they have no idea how their clothes got to the store. It's just there.
Is it humans are
Exactly.
selfish? Is that what it is? What is it? What's the problem
I
here?
think it's a bubble thing, right? It's everybody. Yeah, maybe everybody's like, you know, everybody's because of, I don't know if it's now, it feels like society's always got all these pressures now. And I don't know if it's because of social media and everything being on or whatever be it, and everybody's on fire. They're so consumed by just trying to exist in their own money, like structure. Here's what I got to do just to survive kind of thing that they don't understand. Right. So nobody ever understands the trucking side of it. Nobody ever understands what those truck drivers are doing and the sacrifices that they're making and how things get from point A to point B for people to have their consumer goods, for people to have stuff in, like, you know, even for their health care, for their schooling, like, you know, if we have new schools being built and everything like that. Yes, there's other industries that are involved. I understand that part. I'm not like,
I
you
know, but I mean,
Yeah,
once again,
but-
one of the most role played by the truck drivers is they move it. If they stop moving it, I mean, you can produce all you want.
Exactly, if it's not going anywhere. And that's the thing. So, I mean, my guys get to some places and they won't even let the drivers use the washroom if they have to go to the washroom, or like, you know, hey, you need to stand off to here, or, you know, I can hear them yelling. My guys like, this isn't going well. They're yelling at my guy. I said, you know what to do. They go out to their truck and I call them. And in 5 minutes, that guy's apologizing to my driver. I mean, I'm a temperamental
So
redhead.
well, the point is
so
you're taking stance for them, right?
I will always have my guys back,
Right.
no matter what happens.
No, but my
Because
question
even
is,
if it is their fault, it's not, it's ours as a company. So yes, my driver is there and yes, this is happening, but they're representing me. So I'm going to take the onus of this. So if you do not yell at them, they are doing, both the shipper, receiver, and myself, they are the person doing the job. So if you're having a moment, let's have it together, but it's never their fault.
Kim, what needs to be done to highlight the importance of truck drivers?
There's lack of respect for them.
No, but how do we
I-
change the
I don't know.
perspective?
Honestly, I've been doing this for 25 years. And I don't know if it's because of where I come from or like the past friends, or like because, you know, I have family, friends, like, you know, all in the business and everything like that. I'm not sure. I know that even when I make choices in customers, my guys we don't deal with customers that are jerks to my guys. I will not, even if it means losing a customer, my driver is more valuable to me in the long run than some guy having a
But
bad
that's
day.
you, right? But
Yeah.
overall, how can we change the perspective? What can be so
They,
what
okay, so like on the business side of it, so my side of it, the owner of the company and all this stuff can't see those guys as a transaction. And that's what happens, right? Like, okay, how many, they don't even go by trucks. How many units are moving? What's being moved by this? They're not saying, like, what's Mike, Frank, Joe, Ali, all this stuff. What are they doing today? Where do they need to be, right? They've turned the guys into numbers, and it's all a numbers game. And
so
that's,
you're saying the problem starts with the company then?
yeah.
So the companies need to first of all know the importance of the truck drivers and then basically spread it out,
Yeah. And know the knowledge, like, that this is what needs to happen. So
My understanding is in the past, maybe 70s or 80s, some of the movies were out there that the truck drivers were portrayed as bad people.
well,
That played probably a huge role too,
they always do,
right?
but I mean, we're always like, I don't understand where that comes from, right? Like most of the guys or people, I should say, that are on the trucks are usually out there because they're trying to provide. They're usually trying to provide for their families and trying to work. It's not that they're out there, right? And they are, most of the time, they are family people. So this whole entire thing, and they come from a variety of backgrounds. Like, I've had guys that work for me that have come out of the army, that have come, like they used to work at the TTC, I have one guy who was a software engineer and didn't want to stand in front of a computer anymore, right? I've had ones that was a retired teacher and he wanted something else to do. I had another one who had a horse farm and he left because he wanted to go pursue horse and yoga and he was a little whack. But anyway, I don't think he'll ever come back anyway. We had a difference in personality, that one. So, and again, I'm not innocent in all this, right? That's the whole thing. But people have to understand, I don't know where that negative perspective.
But does it need to be changed?
Well, oh yeah, 100%. But it also has to be through, because the whole thing is, and it's like any industry, it takes one bad apple. Right? It's the one bad apple that always.
Well, there's a lot of bad apples in trucking, let's confess.
Correct.
But the point is, I mean, there's more good apples than the bad apples, right?
Right, but people only ever know about the bad apples because the bad apples are the ones that make it on TV. The bad apples are the ones that now make it on TikTok, whatever social media. Like pick a social media. Oh, look what this person's doing now. Never mind the 30 trucks that just passed this guy that are doing their job. Their equipment is up to date. The drivers are doing what they need to do. They know that they want to get home to their families and stuff like that. So,
Kim,
one bad
I
apple.
can't stop talking. There is so much to get from you and put it out there on the TV and the show. But we'll probably have to do another session sometime. But
I'll try to be on time next time. Sorry.
I am grateful that you showed up and you were here and then you're sharing all this knowledge you have. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We'll see you guys next time.